As you continue learning more about Bitcoin, you might find yourself asking the question of how many Bitcoin are actually left and how many Bitcoin are lost forever. Well, some of the numbers in this video might surprise you, but as always, before we jump into today's topic, please make sure to drop a big thumbs up below. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel and make sure you hit the bell notification icon so that you can stay up to date with all the latest crypto content. We are dropping multiple videos every single week, so make sure that you can stay up to date to achieve your crypto goals. So let's jump into today's topic. Without further ado, we are discussing everything to do with how many Bitcoin are actually lost forever. So, as you might know, there are only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist. And this number is a hard cap. It is a fixed supply. It is part of what gives Bitcoin so much allure as an investment for asymmetric returns over the next number of decades. And the fact that it has this fixed supply makes it extremely lucrative. So as of today and the time of recording, we are here on February 7th, 2024. We have a total circulating supply of 19.6 million Bitcoin already. Okay. So what that means is we already have a circulating supply of 19.6 million Bitcoin out of the 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist, which means there are only 1.37 million Bitcoin left to be mined, which is less than 7%. Okay? So over 93% of the entire supply of Bitcoin has already been mined. And as we've alluded to and spoken about many times on this channel with other videos, you can check them out. But the Bitcoin economics and the way that it works, it operates by essentially there is a built-in halving mechanism whereby every 4 years the block reward subsidy is cut in half for miners on the blockchain. So what that means is every 4 years that block reward subsidy gets cut in half, and this leads to a diminishing supply of Bitcoin that comes into the market every 4 years. So right now, from the period of 2020, when the third Bitcoin halving occurred, to 2024, the amount of Bitcoin that was rewarded per block subsidy was 6.25 Bitcoin. Okay, and we are less than 90 days away from the fourth Bitcoin halving, which is going to occur in April, May of 2024 at this particular juncture. And when that halving occurs, after that halving for the next 4 years, the block reward subsidy is being cut to 3.125. And then again in 2028, when we hit this juncture, the block reward subsidy is going to be cut to 1.76 Bitcoin again, cut in half once again. So what this means is, as we see the supply, growth over the first decade of Bitcoin, the supply growth was extremely sharp. We had a very sharp rise in terms of supply, but that begins to level off, especially now when we hit this 2024 halving. We can see that the supply begins to level off, and the last Bitcoins won't get mined until the year 2142. And what that means is we will have so little Bitcoin actually acting for the block reward subsidy, in those later years. Eventually, the whole idea is that the transaction fees on the network will cover the amount of the mining costs. But up until that point in 2140, we will have a Bitcoin reward subsidy that gets cut in half every 4 years. So, with only 1.3 million Bitcoin left to enter circulation, we're at a very interesting point. We have 93% of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist already circulating, but how many of those Bitcoin are lost forever? Well, why do Bitcoin get lost in the first place? That's some of the questions we have to ask ourselves, but a number of reasons this can happen. Over the years, there's been countless stories and, some more high profile than others, but hardware and wallet failures, people storing Bitcoin on hardware devices or computers or physical wallets and losing those physical devices in certain cases. There's some stories and instances of people who have thrown out hard drives into the trash with thousands and thousands of Bitcoin on those hard drives, never to be found again. They go off to a landfill, they go off to the dump, and they never get found again. People forget seed phrases and private keys. So, while some people might store their Bitcoin on their computer, on their phone, or in a cold wallet or hard wallet of any kind, they might still have that device, but they've lost the seed phrase or the private keys to actually access them. So you are the one who needs to be responsible for looking after your seed phrases and private keys. And if you lose those, you essentially lose access to your Bitcoin. So this is another large contributor to why Bitcoin gets lost. People sending Bitcoin to wrong addresses. So oftentimes this can be, an innocent mistake where you send Bitcoin to an address that is incorrect. You might have typed in the address incorrectly. You might have copied and pasted it incorrectly and sent Bitcoin to a wrong address, and there's no way to recover or get that back. And then there's, a whole host of sophisticated scams that we've seen over the recent years where scammers will promise to double your money if you send your Bitcoin to an address. As always, be careful. But all jokes aside, thousands upon thousands, if not tens of thousands of Bitcoin has simply been sent to wrong addresses over the years to never be recovered, and they are lost forever. And then the final main reason that we have here is that people often die without having legacy plans or without having a way to properly show their loved ones, or without properly creating a will or a trust maybe to pass on that Bitcoin to their family or loved ones. People will die, and maybe their family aren't aware of how to access those funds or how to get access to that Bitcoin, and it's gone forever. No one can recover it. So these are some of the ways that Bitcoin has been lost over the years, and we just wanted to highlight some of those examples. But this is a breakdown from, I think, Fortune magazine a number of years ago. It's actually dated as of 2017. We've got a more up-to-date one to show in a moment, but basically what they did is they did a study a few years ago, and out of all the coins in circulation at the time in 2017, they estimated about 2.56 million to have been lost. So almost, well, I'm not sure what percentage that is at the time, but they're saying between 30 and 50% of all Bitcoin in circulation had been lost at the time. On top of this, some of the original coins we have in the original Satoshi Nakamoto wallet. So there are 1.04 million Bitcoin in Satoshi's original wallet that have never been touched and have never been moved, and essentially nobody has access to. So if we count this in the total amount that has been lost, it bumps up the total figure, a large amount. And then some of the smaller subcategories here for estimations, but an estimated 120,000 to have been lost, from buying and selling. Some of those would fall into people sending Bitcoin to wrong or incorrect Bitcoin addresses. Another 70,000 lost from or due to strategic investments. And they estimate none to have been lost from coins mined. So this number was in 2017. We've got a more updated version here as of 2021, but the estimate for the amount of coins to have been lost in this particular study by Professional Crypto Recovery was about 3.7 million lost Bitcoin as of 2021. They're then saying that there's about 11.4 million held and in circulation by investors, another 3.5 million that is dedicated to trading, and at the time of this, there was about 2.4 million still left to be mined. But we know now in 2024 that there's only about 1.6 million Bitcoin left to be mined. So if we think about this number 3.7, and if we are conservative and add on the 1 million Bitcoin that Satoshi has access to, or that is in the Satoshi wallet that has been never touched or moved and nobody else can access, we could estimate that there are around 4.5 million Bitcoin that have been lost forever. So again, putting all of this into context, and thinking about the 21 million hard cap, obviously 21 million with a fixed supply is a very interesting prospect for someone who understands the supply and demand economics of different types of assets. And if we cut that number by almost a quarter, you know, by taking 4.5 million off the 21 million total, giving us about 16.5 million Bitcoin, that makes this asset so much more scarce. And I think for anyone that understands the supply and demand economic side of it, that makes it even more enticing and just shows truly how scarce this asset is, especially considering the fact that there's so little Bitcoin available on exchanges for trading. The bullish sentiment around the recent ETF approval and the amount of Bitcoin that the ETFs are buying up right now. The ETFs have accumulated over 180,000 Bitcoin in less than a month, in less than 20 trading days. And if they are to continue accumulating 180,000 Bitcoin, that's just the US ETFs, only the 9 Bitcoin spot ETFs that started trading in the US less than a month ago, they've already accumulated more than 180,000 Bitcoin, and there's only 16.5 million technically actually available. That's over 1% of the supply already. So it is very interesting to think about how many Bitcoin have been lost forever, how many Bitcoin there truly are in terms of how much Bitcoin can be held and traded by people moving forward, and the 4.5 million Bitcoin that have been essentially lost forever that no one will ever be able to access ever again. It's very interesting times, and very interesting to think about that in the context of the growth and the supply crunch in the next few months as we enter the Bitcoin halving, and as we have a reduction in the block reward subsidy once again within the next 3 months. So 4.5 million Bitcoin is obviously a huge amount. Let us know if that number surprises you in the comments below. As always, if you enjoy these videos, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button below. Make sure you are subscribed and hit the bell notification icon. We are dropping new videos every single week, so you're going to want to make sure that you are subscribed to stay up to date, to stay up on the latest action, and to hit your crypto goals. As always, we will see you in the next one.